We've got some more help. Alden Abbott, Deputy Director of the Edwin Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies, is here in the studio with us. Thank you very much. Because I don't think a lot of people fully understand what they mean when they say they broke antitrust rules. Did they? Because Qualcomm has a huge business in China already. So what law did they break?
Well, China's anti-monopoly law, which is now about almost 8 years old, prohibits so-called abuses of dominant positions or abusive single-firm conduct.
Because they had so much business there already.
Well, yeah. So supposedly the concern is that they charged too much for they asked royalty rates that the Chinese government, NDRC, thought were too high, and that they supposedly tied sales of certain products to certain other products. The problem is that there was a certain lack of transparency or clarity about the whole process. And that I think independent critics, both in the US and the EU, in dealing with China's anti-monopoly law, have had concerns that, particularly single-firm conduct, there's a concern that foreign companies don't really know what the charges are going to be.
They don't know what the rules are necessarily. Like you're kind of, they might be guessing. I'm not defending Qualcomm by any means, but I'm saying that might be their defense.
Exactly. And also the idea of a big fine. That's not part of, the U.S. tradition has used fines for cartels, secret arrangements where companies fix prices, hurt consumers. Single-firm conduct, which is open, notorious, everyone knows, can observe it in the market, usually hasn't been the subject of fines.
So, okay, let's fast forward to what this might mean for the rest of the other companies operating in the arena, because it's not just about Qualcomm, right? This has precedents that's set now for other firms that are, whether it's Cisco or any other tech firm, or even non-tech firm for that matter. How does this case impact other companies operating in China?
Well, certainly they have to make decisions. There's a lot of foreign investment in China, but there's been, I think, a slowdown in the last couple of years from what I've read, and the companies have to decide. China's business is important, a huge, important market. At the same time, if you feel that you may be subject to high fines if you're too successful, it may curb your incentives to invest.
So you're saying that if you're a successful company operating in China, there's more risk rather than if you're a non-successful company, because the eyes might not be on you.
That's right. And
that's interesting.
In the long term, it may not be in China's interest, I would argue, to penalize successful companies. As China's own companies grow and compete internationally, you want sort of a level
Well, it seems to me no one would ever, there's no reason ever to penalize successful companies unless they break the rules. Let me shift gears very briefly here. There was some talk that this could have been much, much worse, as you heard me earlier. China has the ability, at least in their bylaws, that they can actually claim a portion of your annual sales, which could be a huge amount of money. Now, they didn't do that, and some are saying that that's because they didn't want to scare off foreign investors. Did they do the right thing?
Well, I certainly think they did the right thing in not imposing some sort of big sales penalty. And Qualcomm certainly was amenable to that. The problem is that any company that's heavily invested, active in the Chinese market, is sort of over a barrel to some extent. And if they want to continue to do business in China, they have to agree at some point. The problem is companies that are just getting more involved in the China market may have concerns. The U.S. and China may be negotiating a bilateral investment treaty, and I know President Xi Jinping is said to be going to the United States later this year. I think it would be in China's interest to open markets and to make application of their law, including your anti-monopoly law, clear and more transparent, so everyone knows going in what the ground rules are going to be.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to have clear rules, otherwise you can't even define what success is likely to be. Let me talk about the competition out there, because some are saying whether it's Southeast Asia, it's India, Korea, you name the country, China has a lot of neighbors. They have a lot of business with neighbors, and foreign companies have a lot of choices which country they want to do business in. You alluded to this earlier, but you want to make your place attractive. What does China need to do, or is there something they need to do that you're recommending they change specifically when it comes to making your place attractive for visitors and investment?
More transparency, more due process. Allow companies to know what charges are and to make a defense. neutral application. Chinese companies should be treated no better than foreign companies. Neutral rules should apply equal to everyone. That encourages investment.
I mean, I mean, I have to ask this. Are you insinuating that they're not treated equally now?
Well, I can't speak personally. I know there have been some complaints by major businesses in Europe and the US that they have that feeling, and I think greater transparency as to would alleviate those concerns.
Yeah. And we're not being critical. I mean, ultimately, this is a good thing for China, right? You
Yes.
want them to be more transparent so that foreign companies are more comfortable coming into that country to operate
Yep.
there. And that also, I would imagine, also increases the likelihood of success as well.
Yes, and it's a win-win for China's consumers. Greater foreign investment will help China's consumer economy, which is key to economic growth.
Okay, let's talk briefly. You mentioned a bilateral trade, a potential bilateral trade treaty between the United States and China. And one topic that's often come up is copyrights and patents. And it's a confusing bit because your invention might be patented here in the US, but then not patented there, or vice versa. Where's the compromise on that? And this is an important topic.
Right. Well, I think recognition of patent rights in the treaty and protection, certain basic protections. The U.S. has negotiated lots of bilateral investment treaties. Also open up as many fields to foreign investment. Right now, there's sort of restricted lists. I know that China is said to be liberalizing that, but I think the more fields you can invest in directly, the better off for everyone. And you want to be sure that your patents and copyrights will be protected. China's doing a better job there, but 75% of businesses still told U.S. Chamber of Commerce in China that they're concerned there's inadequate protection for their copyrights and intellectual property in general.
Yeah, well, that's a quite staggering statistic. Certainly, that's the same topic that we faced during the WTO. The World Trade Organization had these exact same discussions. We're going to see if they can make some progress on it. Alden Abbott, thank you very much. Good to have you here, trying to help us explain a very complicated topic. So I don't envy you on that one.
Thank you.